What is good, YouTube? It's your boy JImmygotsoul back with another video. We back making videos again. This video we are doing my top 5 wrestling games of all time. This is my top 5. What I've played as a kid, what I consider to be my top 5. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so at number 5 we have Saturday Night Slam Masters. This game is for the Super Nintendo. This is a game that I played as a kid. If you can see here, I do have the case for it. This game here is sort of like the Final Fight wrestlers in a wrestling game. It is complete chaos. There's a few characters on here, but if you haven't played it, I would suggest you play Saturday Night Slam Masters for the Super Nintendo. Basically, it's a wrestling game that basically just all out chaos. It has 10 fighters. They have their own special moves like a spinning power driver, a dread lock drop. So they do have their own finishing moves. When as a kid, I was surprised by this game because I thought this was like a Final Fight type game, but instead it turned out to be a wrestling game, which I put plenty of hours. I think maybe I was like 10 or so when I got this game. So when I had my Super Nintendo, played this game for countless hours. Basically, you can go out the ring, which was fairly new for Super Nintendo. I think maybe Raw for a Super Nintendo, maybe. Don't quote me on that. You can go outside the wrestling ring, but that was like a big deal back then to be able to go outside the ring and fight. Also to do other things where you can have multiple people play. You can have 4 players in the ring at one time, which was a big deal. So yeah, if you haven't played Saturday Night Slam Masters, go get it. It might be pretty expensive. I'm not sure. I can't remember what I paid for this. It wasn't that bad. Maybe 30 bucks or something like that. But if you want a good wrestling game, or you're looking for a good wrestling game for the Super Nintendo, pick this up. Alright, y'all. So at number 4, we have what you probably might not necessarily think so, but in my opinion, this is kind of starts the trend of the WrestleMania 2000s and the No Mercies for the Nintendo 64. But this one here was for the PlayStation 1. It is WCW VS The World. Now, this game here I got when it was new as well. This is kind of a 64 type game for the PlayStation 1. If you haven't played it, I would suggest it, highly suggest it. It's not that expensive. This one here, you had Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, you had the Crow, Sting on here. With this particular version of the game, they had all the finishing moves. It plays like WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy. Basically too, it has a bunch of superstars on there, as well as some Japanese wrestlers if you are into that as well too. This game I highly suggest. This one also had Eddie Guerrero doing the frog splash off the top rope, which was cool. But as a WCW fan, this is one of my favorite WCW games, as well as Revenge. I'm not going to act like I don't like those type of games, but this game right here particularly started it all. It had a little bit of a story mode to it. It was just going through wrestlers until you get the championship belt, basically. Also, Hulk Hogan was in this one as well too. But to be able to fight as Sting and Hulk Hogan at that time was a big deal to me. Sting is probably my top 3 favorite wrestler of all time. So if anything that has Sting in it, I'm playing it. But as this says it here, it has 15 WCW superstars, but there's over 60 wrestlers in this particular game. So like I said, you had there's like a fake Andre the Giant in there, a couple of hidden characters as well too. There was 10 arenas that you had in this one. You could play up to 2 players. This one didn't have like a 3-4 player game system because this came out like in 96 or 97 or something like that. But this is Aki's start into making some of the best wrestling games of all time. Again, if you have not played WCW VS The World, I would strongly suggest playing it. If you don't have a PS1, you can play it on your PS2. I believe you can play it on your PS3 as well too if you have a 60 gigabyte PS3 that has the backwards compatibility. But I would strongly suggest playing this game here. Ric Flair, another one, Dean Malenko, which was cool to play with these particular characters at the time because I was a huge WCW fan at the time. So if you haven't played it, you can do the taunts, the finishing moves, top rope moves. You could play as some Japanese wrestlers, which I thought was really cool at the time too. At number 3 here, we have, which could cause a little controversy here, is WrestleMania 2000. This is my favorite. I know No Mercy is for the Nintendo 64 as well too, but as far as being able to do certain things and play certain things, WrestleMania 2000 is my favorite. I do love WWF No Mercy, don't get me wrong, but out of the two, WrestleMania 2000 was a game changer. You had Big Show, you had Mankind, The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, Stone Cold. The controls were different at the time, being able to adjust to the controls. Amazing. This was a game changer. Being able to play with your friends. At that time, again, the Nintendo 64 had the 4 ports in there too, so if your friend came with their memory card, brought their player, you can play with your created players, or you can play with your regular characters as well too. They had the entrance, the steel cage match was amazing. But yeah, this here, it don't get no better than this here. The entrance with the Titantron and theme songs was good at that time too. To put all of these things together in a wrestling game, especially for the Nintendo 64, I mean, as a teenager, I put countless and countless hours into this game. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like WWF No Mercy. I'm not saying that I just don't like that game at all, but if I had to pick between the two, I'm going WrestleMania 2000. All right, so at number 2, we have Def Jam Fight for New York. This game right here was amazing. Being able to create your fighter, being able to go through the story mode, being able to go through all the rappers, like your favorite rappers, even if they wasn't all that popular at the time. You had Fat Joe, Ludacris, Snoop Dogg. They had actors in there, Joe Budden, all these different people in this particular game here that you can either play with 4 players on this one. This one was for the Xbox, so I didn't need a multi-tap. The original Xbox had 4 ports in there, like the GameCube, so you can just go ahead and just plug in 4 controllers. You and your friends can just sit there and play. You can play the story mode, like I said earlier. You can play and create your own player. You can also interact with the crowd. If you're going outside the ring into the crowd can grab you. Your opponent can just start beating you up. This is just like the ultimate street fighting game that you can play. I'm pretty sure some of you guys have already played Def Jam Fight for New York. Also, if you haven't played either Def Jam Vendetta, this game is amazing as well too. It had a good story mode in there, but it's not the Fight for New York. This one, they're both good. If you haven't played one or the other, get it. if you can get your hands on it. I know these Fight for New York is pretty expensive at the time. I think it's maybe like 70-80 bucks if you can catch it. But if they have it at a yard sale or something like that, you can get it cheaper. Grab it if you can. If you can't, get Def Jam Vendetta. I know this game is a little cheaper as well too, but if you can, pick one of these games up. These games here are amazing. If you haven't played it, play it. So at number 1, which you probably already know, number 1 top 5 wrestling game that's in my collection that I like, that you probably like as well too, Smackdown. Here Comes the Pain. When this game first came out, I bought it brand new. I reserved it at EB Games at the time at the mall. I remember going there when it first came out, getting my hands on it. Back then you had the instruction booklet, which you would read through on the way home. If your parents took you or you had a ride, you would open it up, see what they had in there. You would look at the back of the case and see what they had in there. I remember the story mode. I remember playing as Brock Lesnar, which was a big deal. He was like the most OP player in the game. I remember the story mode was extensive. You had just countless hours and hours of fun. Being able to store your finishers, getting about 5 finishers, putting the F5 on somebody 5 times was a big deal back then. For the PlayStation 2, it seemed like the graphics were amazing. At the time, they were like the best graphics at the time. I know if you put it in now, it doesn't look as great as it would for, you know, the new WWE games. But this game right here, you had the legends in there: Sergeant Slaughter, $1 Million Man, Jimmy Fly Snuka, Rey Mysterio. Undertaker came out with the motorcycle when he changed his gimmick. They have all different types of match types. They had the Elimination Chamber match, which you can play with 6 players. You get yourself a multi-tap for the PS2, get a couple friends, and you can just play countless hours. That's not even including the story mode if we got into that. But yeah, just the match types alone, you had the Elimination Chamber, all those different type of match types in this game. But man, to be able to play as Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, The Rock, Stone Cold, all these different players, I mean, this game is amazing. I still play this game to this day.
To this day! To this day!
Actually played it last week actually. Anytime I can get my hands on it and play through the story mode, being able to create your own person, making all your moves and playing through the story mode, it don't get no better than Here Comes the Pain. Alright y'all, so that was my top 5 wrestling games of all time. Again, it's your boy JImmygotsoul. If you take the time out to like, comment, subscribe. If you're new to the channel, I greatly appreciate it. If you stayed to the end, I appreciate you. Again, it's your boy JImmygotsoul. I'm out. Peace.